That's right, you heard the sound. This is now time for Restaurant Reality. Before we get into it, I'd like to thank today's restaurant, the food service industry newspaper, one of our sponsors. Today's restaurant is a trade newspaper for the food service industry in Georgia and Florida. You just heard from the experts about the fundamentals of a good bar and beverage program. It's an essential part of the business for the success of it. As a restaurant broker, this brings to mind the most common blend of bar and restaurant, the sports bar. Sports bars are an American icon. They blend entertainment, fun, and drinks together in a tradition as old as sports. A well-run beverage program can make or break a sports bar. Robin, can you give us an example of an especially well-run sports bar and what differentiated them from their competitors?
You know, Erica, it wasn't so long ago we had a really fabulous concept for sale. Now, this one was a franchise sports bar. So the idea is because it was a franchise, there were about 25 to 30 units, we could easily see how they performed against everyone else. And the interesting thing was when you looked at their P&L, they may have the same number of sales, about $1.3 million in sales. They operated at approximately the same rent ratio, but this one particular bar had net earnings about 17% of sales. So on $1.3 million, they were making $65,000 more than a comparable bar next door. So what was the difference? It was their beverage program. This operator was incredibly focused on the beverage piece of the business. So he would purchase in bulk. When the suppliers had a special, he would buy it. If the suppliers put some certain kind of vodka on special and he needed to buy extra in order to get the savings, he would do that. He would employ his mixologist and make up a drink around that purchase, and then he would train his staff and he would put that forward at the sports bar as a special type of offering. He worked with his vendors and he pulled in events. So again, you know, it doesn't seem like that level of attention deep to detail is critical, but when we're talking about a $65,000, and that's pure bottom line profit earnings from one sports bar franchise to the next with the same comparables otherwise, you can see why getting focused on that alcohol is what you want to do, and that's the reality of the restaurant business. And, you know, you don't have to come from the industry to be successful either, Eric. Aren't you working on closing a transaction this week that originally sold to someone who was a consultant and didn't have any background in the business? What did he do, and what were his challenges?
Yes, Robin, I am closing on a transaction this week on a person that originally bought a sports bar from us about 8 or 9 years ago. Now they're ready to retire, and they're selling it again. We've seen in this industry, I've seen people that are 25-year veteran managers, and they bought sports bars, and you know, unfortunately, 6 months later, they were down, you know, and shut down. They didn't make it.
Isn't a sports bar to a man like the man cave? That's just what they got to have.
I think they do, but they forget about one piece about sports bar. For those of you out there thinking about getting into business, let me tell you a little bit of reality also. This is more than just watching the game and having a couple of cocktails with your friends. You know, most sports bar owner are there at 5 a.m. getting deliveries, getting everything ready, and they're still there at 10 a.m. having a cocktail with you smiling, but they honestly have been there over 17 hours. So it is more than just hanging out in the man cave, but that's a part of it that eventually you get to it. You're right about that. So back to our story about the sports bar owner that was a consultant in a totally unrelated industry, and he had no clue whatsoever about this business. All he knew is he loved the atmosphere and he was passionate about music. And he got it. He bought his bar about 8 years ago, and he actually revamped everything. Looked at it. It was already a very successful business, but he looked at, hey, what are we selling? What are the profit? I mean, one thing that you have to look at, I mean, we heard from the experts today, a lot of selection, a lot of things out there. But, you know, if there's 2 or 3 different products with similar taste, and one of them gives you an extra 3 or 5% profit, then you may want to view this. You may want to go with that, or you may want to use that as a well brand versus a premium brand. I mean, remember one thing about the restaurant industry and the bar industry, it's a penny business. Do not forget that. So if you can make 1 more percent if you do 1 more percent on $1 million, that's a very large amount of money. So do not forget that. So he took over the bar, revamped the drink beverage program, worked at it, educated himself, went to conventions, talked to the vendors, talked to suppliers. Like they said earlier too, hard to get in touch with these guys, but they sure did. He was persistent about getting these guys to come over and talk to them and ask a million questions. And these guys thought he had really strong interest. They start also doing promotions for him, work with him, you know, get him some exclusive on some new things coming to the market. I mean, there's a lot of creative, you know, between the product and the promotion. Robin's a marketing genius, an expert, and it's also sometimes you can have a product everybody has, but if you market it a different way, you're going to have a lot more success with it and get your staff involved into that to the point that he actually increased profit, and he's selling the bar now, the sports bar, for actually more money that he got into it and bought it, invested, and it was very, very successful. And I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't say any names, I won't say, but when he first bought the place, I didn't think he was going to make it.
Uh-oh. Okay, I'm just very excited because I finally have on tape my husband saying that I'm a genius about something, so we can never destroy this tape. Eric, I want to share one thing with you before we close out for the week, and that is for those people who are, thinking of going into the sports bar business, we do have those sports bars for sale. Right now, we have a franchise sports bar opportunity. One's in Macon, Georgia, and one's in Gainesville. One is on the market for assets only. You can pick it up for $99,000. That's pennies on the dollar for what they had invested originally. The other one, it's high earnings, which means it's priced at $349,000. The value in buying a franchise when you're getting into the sports bar business is that the books and records are going to be up to date, and lenders will easily look at these for funding. So that's just one example of something we have in the marketplace today.
Yeah, and a bit more details about this. The asset sale, we're talking about everything: televisions, bar stools, tables, chair, all equipment in the kitchen. It is ready to go. It is just turnkey. You just step in there.
And it's up and running, right?
And it's up and running, so you can just get in there. And usually when we see these things, is operations are not very strong, so you got to get more operations. And the key to success through a lot of restaurants, everybody go get a pen, piece of paper, write this down, is to grow the sales. If you find a way to grow the sales, no matter what you're going to buy, you're going to survive. And so if you grow the sales a little bit in this opportunity here, you're going to have a huge return on your investment. The one for $349, it's making over $120,000 through an owner-operator. So when we say that, we're talking about an owner-operator working an average of 40 to 50 hours a week, which is reasonable in the industry, and you're talking about making over $100,000 profit. Not a bad investment for the price.
Okay, so the people who want the man cave and six-figure earnings, we can figure that out for you.
That's right. And Robin, tell us a little bit more about something more of with a more chilling feel to it.
Well, we have a ski in, ski out. Now that's somebody's dream. A ski in, ski out sports bar in Colorado on the market with the real estate for $1.3 million. And we move from there south of Atlanta. We have some clubs in Florida with an SRX license, which allows them to sell alcohol in that state. Our restaurant broker in South Florida office has something at $149,000, $159,000, and as low as $89,000. So those folks who listen to today's program and believe, you know what? Handling this beverage side of the business, I could actually make that happen. It's not that tough. We have listings online. You can find them at WeSellRestaurants.com. You'll also find both video and audio of today's broadcast, where we brought in experts from Nation's Restaurant News and BevIntel to share their information about the food and beverage industry. That will also be found online. It'll be on our Facebook page at facebook.com/WeSellRestaurants, and we'll link tweets to our content always at our Twitter handle, twitter.com/sellrestaurants. This is Eric and Robin Gagnon. We are the Restaurant Brokers, and we sell restaurants.